Hello, today I'm going to show you how I hand stitch my handmade knife sheaths, and I'll show you what I've done so far. I've got a pair of Sheath Osborne wing dividers here. This is the 6-inch dividers, and I've scribed a line in about 3/16, slightly plus a little bit, and I've marked my holes at 1/4 of an inch in length. I marked holes here, and I've got 3 holes up here to kind of give that a double lock up there and right down to here. And what I'm going to do is use this stitching horse, that's what I call it, and I'm going to clamp my knife sheath in there like that and start out here at the tip. And I've got a thread prepared with 2 needles on it. It's a wax lacing tape. It's really waxy, and what I do is remove some of the wax with a cloth so it's not so waxy. It's a flat type nylon string, and what I do is twist it and give it a twisted effect. It looks a lot better when with your hand sewing. When you pull the stitches down, it looks better if it's got a twist to it. I've got a couple CS Osborne awls here, and I've got a knot here in my string. I've twisted on me. All right, I got my thread ready. I cut my my sewing thread. It's 8 feet in length, and I put needles on each end. They're CS Osborne large eye harness needles. I've got CS Osborne awl hafts with the blades, diamond-shaped blades in them, and I've got a small one, and then one that's slightly fatter if I need to enlarge my hole a little bit. This is a CS Osborne number 145 handle. I'm going to start out with the small one, and I've got a line scribed on the back here, and what I'll do is set my awl in here like this and give it a little twist like this, and that helps it to punch through the other side. And while I'm wiggling this like this with this motion, I'm looking on the back, and I want it to come out in the center of my line. If you'll use that for a focal point every time, your stitches on the back side will look a lot better than not really looking or paying attention. So right now I'm going to take these 2 needles and find the center of my thread there. That's the center. And now I'll make my next hole here. Another thing you'll want to keep in mind, this is a diamond shaped awl, and you want to kind of keep it at the same angle every time you punch a hole. Now I'm looking on the back, and you'll develop a feel on this on where you want it to come out on the back side. That line helps to give you a guide on the back side. So what I'm going to do now is pull my thread up from the back. I use my needle nose pliers to pull that needle through, and I've got a little bit of a loop right here. Now I'm going to take this needle on this side, and as I push my tip of my needle through there, I pull my thread back. The reason I do that is I don't want my harness needle to run through my thread and tear it. Okay. Now I'll show you something. I've got a loop right here like this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a pretty good twist on that right before I pull it down. And then on the back side, I'm going to do the same, put a twist on it. and then pull that down pretty snug. You can pull that down so snug that you can actually tear through the leather. This is a very stout thread, won't hardly break at all, and you just got to be conscious that you can actually tear through there. So what I'm going to do now is stand up here, and I'm going to put a twist on this entire thread like this. Kind of give it a good twist. Then I'll twist the other side, just like this. Put a twist on this side. Then each time I'll just have to put a slight twist on it. Give it a good rub like that. I'll get back to my stitching here. It's always a good idea to check your awl, hit it on wet rock if it needs it, and sharpen that point. Okay, I got my hole punched. It came out in the back about where I wanted it. Get my needle nose, pull my thread through. And then pull that back, make sure my needle doesn't go through the thread, and snag it. And that looks good. Let's do that again. We'll take into that awl and make sure I come out in my line in the back. I didn't put much of a twist on that last pull down. I'll show you how I put a twist on this one. Okay, stick this needle right through there like that. Pull my thread back a little bit. Okay, this time I'm going to put a little more of a twist on that thread. Yep, that looks good right there. And it's just repetition now till I get to the very end here. I'll make my stitches all the way to the end, go over one, and then go down through here, and then actually you can double back one more and then snip or trim your thread off even there, and then you can tap your stitches down with a hammer and make them kind of lay down neat. And then the next thing to do is to use a number 2 Osborne edger and kind of round the edges, and then that can be rubbed. Wet this with the sponge and rub it with a burlap bag with some tallow or saddle soap on it, and that'll slick that edge down. So hopefully that'll help you out with your hand stitching your handmade knife sheaths, and appreciate you watching this video, and would appreciate a thumbs up, and you're welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Here are a few pictures of the knife sheath after it was sewn and finished. The edges are rubbed, and this stitch is a rugged stitch. It will take the elements real well, the extreme cold and the heat and a lot of wear over the years, and last many, many years. And I think you'll like this lacing tape nylon thread. And one more thing, keep an eye on a leather review I'm going to do that'd be wonderful for making your handmade knife sheaths. It's a good leather resource that you can buy just one or two sides at a time.